not have a representative going through to the World Championship from spring. 3 Europeans, 1 player from the Americas. And again, China struggling, America's Asia Pacific, the exact same, and then Europe dominating.
Yeah, the difference has been the clutch matches, though, where Americas was able to pull it out. They're sending 2 representatives in this. I'm sorry, they're sending a representative in this one. The rest of the field going to have to work harder at summer if they want to put more players in through the World Championships.
And here's the semi-finalists: Hoej versus Ant, and then Nyria versus Kalento. This is an all-star lineup of 4. Nyria versus Kalento, that's going to be coming up a little bit later, but it's kind of funny. Kalento, when he was on stage with Ali asked if he had any secrets about Nyria, and you could tell he's like, yeah, I do, but I don't know if I want to unleash him now. It was kind of funny, the look that came on his face. That's the impression I got from him, but I'm not sure.
Those 2 guys have been playing a long time. You know, I recall back to DreamHack Winter in 2014 where they met in the top 8 of that tournament, and you could see them glancing back and forth at each other. They were both very talented players, and they could tell they knew what was happening within the match. You know, it was like you couldn't see the hands, but you could tell they knew what it was. And with Hoej and Ant, it's such a cool match to see. Both these guys have been working hard their entire careers, and now they're seeing the fruits of their labor.
Yeah, let's go and see how these players got to the semifinals. Both of these players came from the lower side of the bracket. Actually, all 4 semifinalists took second in their group, so they all have a loss coming into the semifinals. Ant beat Jason Joe, he beat Treadsred, he beat Mage, and his 1 loss was to RDU. Hoej beat Kranich twice, Citizen Nappa, and his only loss was to Quonet.
Quonet was so close as well, on the verge of defeating Nyria to get to that top spot, but it just wasn't quite enough. Nyria has been playing fantastic. Honestly, this top 4 is about as stacked as it can be. Almost any way you slice it, it was going to be amazing.
All right, well, let me get some predictions here real quick. Just for the first semifinal, it's going to be Hoej versus Ant. Admiral, who's taking it?
Got to go with Hoej. Stuck with him in Winters, sticking with him here. Not going to change my mind. Nothing is going to change my mind. Even if he's knocked out, I'm not going to change my mind.
He's still going to win. He's going to find a way to make it. You know, not even to just play devil's advocate here. I'm going to go with Ant. We shared the same hometown. I spent a lot of my time growing up about 30 miles from where Ant lives right now, and something about that resonates within me. I watch his stream all the time. I think he's a great dude. He came backstage to me and Admirable after he won, and he looks at us and he goes, "Can I give you guys a hug right now?" And we both just went up there and gave him a big old bear hug. So I think that that Ant's going to take it. But it's definitely going to be close. I think their lineups match up pretty evenly across the board. Both have aggressive lineups, I'd say. Yeah,
the one real difference is that Hoej has that Quest Rogue in his lineup that has been hard targeted by RDU and by Ant. And he's also got the mid-range Murloc Paladin, which at times can struggle from inconsistency issues. A bit of top end in there that could really hurt him if it gets to that point.
All right, well, since we won't be on the desk for the analysis segment after this, let's get a prediction for Nyria versus Kalento, which is coming up afterwards. Who's taking that one?
Jeez, that's a close call on that one.
I know.
After seeing the way he's been playing and just everything seems to be going his way, call it fate, call it whatever you want, I got to take Kalento in that match. As much as I respect Nyria and his game, Kalento, he's back. All right, well, we'll see if that's going to be coming up later. But let's get into our first semifinal. Introducing our first player from Denmark. Please welcome to the stage, Hoej. And our second semifinalist, the only America's representative left in the field, it's Ant. That's it.
That's it.
Semi-final number 1. Hoej versus Ant.
Hearthstone is my life right now, and making it to the World Championships is probably one of, if not the best. I mean, I guess winning the World Championships is the best, but it's one of the best things you can do in Hearthstone.
Being in China has probably been one of the best experiences in my life. But, like, it's really, really insane to play with such a huge crowd. This is like the biggest crowd I've ever played.
It still does feel surreal. Like, even my hotel room is like, am I really here? And how did I get here? There's no way I played a video game and now I'm on the other side of the world.
Been talking a lot to my family and they're watching the game and really, really excited. there's been a roller coaster so far here in China, but it's always been like this.
Hoej versus Ant! Ready, set, go!
I am very much looking forward to this series, and I think the way the players greeted each other then, it sums up how they're feeling as well. And walking on and saying, no handshake. We've both got spots at the World Championships. Let's hug this one. Let's just have a great game of Hearthstone. Obviously, both players want to be the seasonal champion, but let's be honest, the major pressures are off now, Sol.
Yeah, this is just feel-good Hearthstone from this point. This is two great guys who have achieved the goals that they set out for themselves. Now it's just friendly competition with the drive of being the best on the line. But this is no lose for me. I have no dog in this race. It's Ant versus Hoej, two of the nicest human beings you will ever encounter anywhere in the world. Whoever wins this, if they go on to take down the title, they will be deserving, both as a player and as a man.
Yeah, there are no dogs in this race, but there is an Ant. And Hoej's going to try and step on him, basically, to a certain extent. And I do feel like, Admirable and TJ were talking a little bit earlier, kind of, took the whole analysis out of our hands, to be fair.
It was really good, actually.
Yeah, but in terms of openers, it's a question that we've asked again and again. Can Questrogue get it done versus an aggressive lineup?
And I generally do think the Questrogue, hard loses to aggro narrative that we've been hearing is kind of overblown. Casters are probably as guilty of pushing that as anyone. When you are as good at the deck as Hoej clearly is, when you understand how to fight for the board turn by turn, we've seen Hoej delay the quest as far as turn 5, for example, in this tournament. When you have those capabilities, you know how to mulligan, you know how to sequence your early game turns to combat these aggressive openings. Questrogue, sure, it's unfavored. Pirate Warrior, Aggro Druid, these are horrible matchups, but against some of the other aggressive decks, it's only just south of 50% for the Questrogue. So I agree, this series will be defined by Hoej's Questrogue, but I'll tell you what, every time a series has been defined by Hoej's Questrogue so far, it's gone the way of Hoej.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a big difference between Questrogue just loses to Questrogue is the deck Hoej really needs to get a win with, right? Those two are actually two slightly different things.
Yep.
We'll see how it pans out, but enough about Questrogue. We'll get to that one a little bit later on. It's going to be Hoej's Murloc Paladin versus Ant's Aggro / Secret Mage here. Valfin getting some work done, and just having that hero power summon Murlocs is just good in itself, especially when you're rocking a Megasaur, a War Leader in hand. Valfin coming out is very strong.
For me, this is two decks that do have a few consistency issues. Admirable brought up the point that a mid-range Murloc Paladin can have some consistency issues when it comes up against a more aggressive deck that can just sweep through it with a very, very consistent early game curve. But Secret Mage, similar things. When you put together a hand like this against a deck that's swarming against you with 1/3s and then threatening to buff with +1/+1 or with a War Leader, then suddenly your hand just doesn't really pick the opponent's board state apart efficiently enough, and they get to snowball in front of you. So both of these decks for me still have one or two questions to answer, even though the mid-range Paladin is one of the absolute staple decks in the format right now.
Yeah, I think the deck's very strong. And look at this turn for Hoej here. He could. This might sound like crazy talk.
Oh, these are my favorite moments.
Go Tidecaller Hydrologist and actually use the weapon to swing into the 1/1. Because it means you set it up for a bit, either a
I
big...
don't think that's crazy.
Yeah, either a big Megasaur or a War Leader play. And what it does is defend your Valfin. And if your Valfin gets pinged off, there's probably not a lot going on in the rest of Ant's turn.
Right.
So it's kind of a win-win. And I mean crazy talk in terms of swinging a 3-attack weapon into a 1/1 when you have a 1/1 on the board to trade.
The downside is very apparent, but it's not crazy because there's very clear upside to it as well, right? Like it's a very high-value weapon. I think the reason it does get held here is because the reason that this shape of weapon is so popular right now, why another 3/2 weapon for 3 is coming into the metagame, is pretty much Mage, right? Like Mana Worm, Arcanologist, Medivh's Valet,
Not the player.
etc., etc. Yes, correct. Mage has actually put together some very popular lists that have been net-decked heavily, but not the Rallying Blade Paladin as far as I know. Mage, the class, currently has the widest array of 3-health early game minions that we've perhaps ever seen in Hearthstone.
Yeah, speaking of deck architects, well, he's pretty much one of them playing this deck. He has made this version of Paladin And we saw Kranich bring it. We've seen a lot of players bring it to, you know, DreamHack, to Seek Story.
To playoffs.
Yeah,
well,
you know, a lot of players just like, yeah, this is good. And the only different version I've seen that I like close to as much is the Cold Light Seer. Because I feel like in the close matchups, in the aggro matchups, that one card can get you over the finishing line a lot of the time. But in general, Hoej's list is pretty sweet.
You genuinely are a really big fan of this list.
Yeah, honestly, I think if you like Paladin, get in. You've not played this list, go and queue up a few games on ladder after this tournament and play it.
Traitor! You will be immediately deported. Right. You know as well as I do that the one true mid-range Paladin is easy UK, easy Paladin, easy.
I thought you were going to say wild token Paladin then. I was like, what? You really going to shout me for wild?
Jambray, one of the UK's finest players, finished rank 1 legend with a very unique mid-range Paladin deck that you should all go check out on his Twitter.
Yeah, I tried it, lost the game and thought, nah, win games for Hoejs.
Traitor. Deported. He already lives in the north. That's not even really England in the first place.
Wow. South? Not my kind of area, to be honest. That's pretty good. Winter's coming in all that.
Got him.
And I wasn't even trying to be a dig. It was more of just a commentary on my own going on. A bit of a monologue. But I'm not going to be doing too great here. Not really doing much with his turn, considering he's up against the Megasaur and a Divine Shield Hydrologist.
Yeah,
it's only going to get worse.
Like the gas just hasn't been there for Ant, right? Like, he's just been a handful of secrets. He's been kind of inefficiently using Frostbolt, which is a hard card to make inefficient, but the efficiency of the Murloc synergy has kind of done it for him at this point. And look how far Ant is behind so far. This is looking like a straight-up blowout from Hoej. And if the series does progress like this, we might see one of those quintessential Hearthstone series right now, particularly in Conquest, where it's a quick 2-0, and then it looks like it's all over, but there's still that one remaining deck, the Quest Rogue, most likely, potentially, to pick up that final win.
Yeah, I think it's important as well, looking at his hand for Hoej, is that the Hydrologist is like the secret killer for the Paladin, kind of like an Eater of Secrets in itself. You can play it into a secret, and if it's Mirror Entity, great, it's 2-2. If it's Counterspell, great, I just use a 1-mana spell that you don't really care about that much in general to get rid of the Counterspell. And that investment of Counterspell from Ant, it's going to be 3 mana at the moment if he wants to play it. And you know, trading a 1-mana card you got from Hydrologist, so for free technically, for 3-mana cards that your opponent actually put in his deck is actually huge here. These draws.
Just what I always wanted. More secrets, more 3-drops. This hand has just not gone anywhere for Ant. And I honestly feel like Secret Mage is one of the decks with the biggest discrepancy between the highest power, the highest level of their power curve and the lowest level, right, in terms of how they draw. The absolute blowout starts where you get all the secret synergy to come together. You're buffing a Mana Worm with your free secrets that you're playing. You played Arcanologist on 2. That digs a secret out. Then you Kirin Tor on 3, slam that, buff your Mana Worm, follow up with a Frostbolt or a Medivh's Valet on the following turn. That beats everything. But then on the other side of the spectrum, you just have draws like this.
Yeah, you kind of just say, well, I've got some stuff. It's not going to get much done. Kirin Tor, though, being picked up. Yeah. No. Is this Barrage Steed?
It looks appealing. I will give you that.
Before Counterspell. Before another secret.
Yep.
Why not?
Ant does have that copy of Spellbender in his deck, which I believe is the one secret he has not drawn yet. Yeah. 2 Counterspell, 1 Mirror Entity, 1 Spellbender, so...
Even a sneaky mana bind sometimes.
Yeah, well, this came off the Babbling book, obviously. But yeah, I mean, you said before Counterspell, but more crucially, before Spike Ridge Steed, because we talked about how difficult it was for Mage's Control Paladin to deal with Spellbender, but he at least had Forbidden Healing that he could use to break it. Mid-range Paladin has no way to beat Spellbender.
Ant's got no way to beat Hoej.
That is a much more pressing issue right now.
Spellbender. Nope, he dead. Gonna be too much here. Counterspell coming down, the second Kirin Tor. Like, imagine if this came down just a couple of turns early. Obviously not all of this, because it wouldn't be doable.
How about turn 3 and turn 4?
Well, even 4 and 5, it could have still fought for something, right? You lock out the Spike Ridge, or at least you force 1 mana on the secret. Mirror Entity might have got more work done when you couple it with a 4-3. Looking pretty rough.
I mean, the secrets in play are just mirror entity and counter spell, right? So this is all much ado about nothing right now.
Yeah.
Hoej just needs to have hand-tracked correctly at this point and know that the Babbling Book card has not factored in just yet.
And that is very difficult to do. Very, very. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, well, you know that's that card. Well, do you? Because yes, you can keep an eye on it, but in a high-pressure scenario, in a high-pressure game,
There we go.
it might change, but it
Hoej
didn't change
got
for
there.
Hoej.
He figured it out. So yeah, obviously, if he hadn't have hand-tracked carefully, then one of those secrets could have been a random Babbling Book card, and then it could have been Ice Block or Ice Barrier or yada, 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 various things that could have messed it up. Hoej just double-checked nothing stupid was going to happen, smashed the face with the Murlocs. That was a quick and easy game one for Mr. Hoej.
Yeah, Hoej double-checked the face there for lethal and found it. So
I
it's,
double-check your face. Looks good.
Thanks.
Still looks good.
Thank you. And yeah, that's my overall issue with the Secret Mage is games like that feel more memorable to me. So, you know, again, you know, Ant has qualified for Worlds with this list, so I'm not saying it's bad, but my preference, a little bit tough, can dead draw a lot of the time. And we see now the bans coming out here. Hoej's Evolved Shaman is gone, and Ant's Aggro Druid has been banned out. I kind of want to try and find out what all the total bans are for each player, because I imagine Ant's Aggro Druid is his most banned class in this tournament.
It's possible. I think within the aggressive lineups, depending on what you run into, you either ban out their... well, actually, all of Shaman, Pirate Warrior, and Aggro Druid are actually viable bans, depending on what you're bringing yourself. Like if you have Quest Rogue in your lineup, then one of Pirate Warrior or Aggro Druid has to go down most of the time. If you have just more of the straight-up board development aggressive decks, like Ant has himself, then suddenly you're leaning towards getting rid of Evolve Shaman, because that has most of the ways to deal with those kind of early contested board states. It really does come down to, you know, building your lineup, and the ban strategy is the #1 most important thing that goes into Conquest deck building.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, we're on the last day, and it's kind of, it does fly by when we actually start casting. The last day, we've had 3 days of amazing Hearthstone action. We see Alex Straza there doing some of the... I told you the other day.
I know, we just hadn't seen her.
Yeah, we just hides in the shadows, a true Valera. But yeah, you know, she's been knocking around. Disguised Toast has been around, as well as Eloise, of course. A lot of community activity going on. A lot of players having some great matches versus the devs. Some members of Team 5 as well. And there's some sweet, sweet merch.
If you haven't got yourself a grab bag from the merchandise store, go and do that. Real life pack opening, that's basically all that is.
What more do you want?
Yeah.
Cool jungle in the corner. You may have seen some of the video pieces earlier where the players are actually hanging around there with all the legendary weapons from the game. Frostmaw, Doomhammer, and how to use bow.
I know some of those words.
Only because they're in Hearthstone.
Oh, this is time shifted. That's fairly
satisfying. There we go.
Oh.
And there's that one piece.
There is just still that one frustrating piece, I believe, just holding me back from pure satisfaction.
It's the only thing. That's a pretty good life. The only thing that's holding you back from just being satisfied with life.
People think I'm really miserable. I'm generally very contented with everything.
Yeah, content with being miserable.
Yeah.
There you go.
That is a very important life skill, let me tell you.
That's true. But we are not miserable here at the Hearthstone Championship Tour in Shanghai, China. It's been an amazing weekend. Seen a lot of crazy stuff happen. We've still got some more Hearthstone coming up for you, so make sure you stay tuned as we go into game number 2. Hoej versus Ant. Hoej got the first win with that Paladin. Pretty easily, to be honest. Now he's going for the Pirate Warrior versus Ant Shaman.
And Fiery War Axe is massive.
Hog champ.
Fiery War Axe is just so huge in the matchup. You see Hoej even choosing to coin it out here just to set up the Bloodsail Raider plus patches on the following turn. This allows him to deal with a Primal Fin Totem that would come down this turn, or anything that Ant wants to develop, and for him to tempo out hard with the Bloodsail Raider on the following turn. This is a fantastic start from Hoej, one of the highest percentage win rate starts you can have in this matchup.
Yeah, Bloodsail Raider is huge as well. One, because it'll just do so much damage, and also the 3 health is actually just a nightmare for Shaman to deal with. And if he can go Jade Claws, try and bait out a swing with the Fiery War Axe.
Well, you know that patches is always going to come down almost.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's like even that doesn't get you there. Is what I was going to say. You know, with the South Sea. Sorry, Blood Cell Raider.
I do want to talk about Jade Claws a little bit, because it's actually a surprisingly weak card in this matchup. Because, you know, turn 1, they might play N'Zoth's first mate. You don't feel great about slamming your 2/2 weapon into 2 1/1s that will come off the board at that point. And then everything has 3 health and 4 health as you start to move into the 2 drops and the 3 drops. So you really do need... You do need Maelstrom Portals or Fireflies to pair with the Jade Claws to really push up into the 3 health range. Very luckily for Ant, that's what he had here. And now the Salsi deckhand gives Ant another dilemma, because does he want to save 5 health against the most aggressive deck in the game at the cost of a 2-1 on board? Ant decides no.
I think it's okay for now. He does have Stonehill Defender, does have Jade Lightning, so he's got a lot of spot removal for the potential 3-drop that's going to come out from Hoej. I think he's okay if this just gets swung into. I think trying to control Pirate Warriors' durability on their weapons is very key. And if you can swing into what's effectively a free minion from Maelstrom, great.
Yeah. Hoej here can swing. This is the turn Hoej wants to swing his Fiery War Axe, because this way he can... well, no, actually, he wants to swing on 4 so that he still maintains a charge for that Captain Greenskin to come down on 5. So that's why you see the slightly inefficient trade of the 2-1 into the 2-1 go through instead of the axe being used. It's so he can swing next turn and then still have a 3-1 weapon hanging around with the Captain Greenskin. And for Ant, since those 2 plays have looked slightly strange with the weapon not being swung, you can actually start to develop a read on the hand, right? Because Bloodsail Cultist, you probably would have seen the deckhand get held, and then he would go deckhand into Cultist this turn, but you smell an upgrade effect because of the weapon being held. So by that extension, you can put your opponent almost exactly on Captain Greenskin.
That's true. Spellbreaker is an option to come back.
It was a bit long-winded, wasn't it?
It was very long-winded,
Did you follow all that?
I fell asleep for a second, but then I just presumed to agree with you.
All right.
Spellbreaker is going to be the tough choice here for Hoej. You can just upgrade, but then, yeah, you kind of just throw away either an attack into the 2-2 or just go face.
You've had some very interesting noises this week.
Yeah, Fredon's been taking pictures of me while I've been making these noises, so he says he's going to...
I don't know what that means, but I'm fascinated and a little bit aroused.
So reeling this cast back in to actual Hearthstone, because this is just going to a place no one wants to go to. I do like the Spellbreaker. This means that it's actually just a minion on board. It has 3 health, which means it's awkward to deal with for Ant. Doesn't swing into the 2-2,
Just refuses
though.
to swing this Fiery War Axe.
I thought he could have afforded to. That's 2 additional durability.
He might be looking just to get a lot of charges pushed at that 5 damage range, so he can continually deal with, you know, Thing from Below, for example, have a good way to contest evolved minions on the board. Many of the big taunts will have 5 to 6 health that will be picked off Stonehill Defender as well. So he might just be really, really heavily valuing multiple charges of a 5 damage weapon now that he's picked up that 2nd upgrade effect.
Yeah, could be worth it. I don't know, it just feels like you're just giving easier trades, although, you know, still does damage, still going to be down to 21, and Hoej hasn't actually done much yet, and has taken a lot of damage. Greenskin, so weird that it took this long for Greenskin to get into Pirate Warrior properly.
It had its day for a while in mid-range Paladin for a week or 2, just after Quartermaster hit and mid-range Paladin was all the rage. Greenskin popped up and just started nailing like that extra True Silver charge on curve. That was the last time I really saw it, you know, enter high-level play. But yeah, it just seems like a natural fit for Pirate Warrior, right? But I think the reason it's appeared now is that the deck actually goes a little bit slower. It's a little bit more late game because of the removal of some of the early game cards that did help it to push damage, and the switch to the more board development style that it plays now.
Rip Buck.
Yeah.
Ooh. I mean, Earth Elemental just looks fantastic.
Earth Elemental is a large gentleman with the word taunt on it, and that's really what you want in this matchup.
Or lady, I'm not sure if Earth Elemental's male or female.
Definitely.
Or if that specific one is.
Definitely don't want to presume Earth Elemental.
It's huge though, because at this point in Ant's position, the overload from Earth Elemental doesn't really do anything. Like, he just doesn't really care at this point. How much can he actually hit him for here?
Well, to borrow an admirableism, it's giddy up time.
I just wonder if swinging early was better.
He is possibly going to have one more weapon charge than turns this game demands before it ends. That is a possibility at this point, but with the big taunts that are going to be coming down very soon.
I like big druid.
Big Finn.
Everything's big.
Yep. But with the with huge taunts that are going to come down for over the next couple of turns and then actually that extra big weapon charge might be the deciding factor. He might have actually planned this out perfectly from Hoej's side.
Yeah, it's a very tight line to toe, right? Because if you look at that, it's just raw damage in hand.
Yeah.
And you add raw damage over 2 turns. If there's one extra swing, does that raw damage just get there?
Ooh,
maybe it gets on its own.
The South Sea deckhand here as well, which is a little bit surprising to me because...
Well, it's just setting up 2 turn, right?
Well, the thing is, South Sea deckhand over a long game is a tool that you quite often keep in hand in this matchup because it's your taunt totem buster, right? Like when you get down to this point in the game where you have Leroy, you have a huge weapon that you're going to stack a heroic strike on, you don't want to sink any of that damage just into a taunt totem.
Yeah, but next turn you don't get to Leroy heroic strike.
Sure.
I think that's just a plan for it.
But I think, like, Stonehill Defender card being taken here, or multiples of them, I don't think you're expecting to actually just straight up end the game next turn, are you?
Well, if a taunt comes down, anything big enough to cause that much of an issue, then Greenskin probably doesn't die.
Yeah.
So then you're getting a reasonable sum of damage. Can Leroy just take out a minion, a taunt minion?
Right.
Like, that's 6 attack.
Right,
that's a large
yeah,
taunt.
but that's what I'm saying. But then by that point, you're stretching the game out over an extra couple of turns, and then maybe over the course of the next 2 or possibly 3 turns, you have to plan for dealing with a taunt totem.
Sure, it's just if Leroy can kill a taunt, then just the weapon plus the weapon plus Greenskin plus heroic strike actually gets you there anyway.
Never mind that conversation. Anna's gone for the clear play here, trying to establish a board-dominant position so that he can then drop Earth Elemental.
Well,
he is saying to himself, you know what? The only 2 cards I die to here are Heroic Strike Leroy. Percentage-wise, he wins more often than not with that play, but Hoej just had him.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of disagree on that setup from Hoej, but I actually liked it because it's pretty much Earth Elemental that stops that happening, right? Because Leroy is 6 attack to go into a taunt minion, which then means Greenskin plus heroic strike on the weapon is what, like 13 damage or something? So it actually would have been lethal anyway. Like, you're asking a lot from whatever that taunt minion is. Exactly Earth Elemental.
Right.
Or I guess Sunkeeper as well would make it weird. Not Sunkeeper. The 6/4, the 4/6. Oh my god.
What is happening?
I actually just don't know. The Divine Shield one. It's Sun something, right?
Sunwalker.
Sunwalker,
Which is a
Sunkeeper.
4/5, not a 4/6.
Should be a 4/6. We played more. But most importantly is the Divine Shield. It's less the number and more the Divine Shield.
I wish you guys could have seen the bewilderment on my face then as I just frantically tried to work out what Raven was talking about.
It's pretty much the same look on your face any time I cast with you. But we've got this match is going to be continuing as Hoej is 2-0 up versus Ann. We've got another match coming up soon as well, so we can check out what we've got coming up.
Greetings from Shanghai, my friends. Don't you stray too far away from that fire. There's more tales to tell. Coming up from China, Colento and Nairia.
Wow, Nairia getting some early face damage in. Just preempting this, just beating Colento. But I love the way Nairia's having fun with it. And Colento's just like, what are you doing?
Colento just looks up, he's like, I'm sorry, are there memes here? This is unacceptable.
Just looking into the distance, looking up at potentially the trophy he wants to win as the spring champion.
Very nice.
But he's going to have to go up against Nairia first, which will be after this match, and then beat the winner of this match in the grand finals to be crowned the spring global champion. And this is, last year we had each championship separately, right? This time, you're not just the champion of your region, you're a champion of the world for that season. And that is a big deal. It is amazing to see, for example, for Ann, America's champion. Absolutely amazing. Actually just world champion in the season. That's a little bit better. And that's what all these players now that they've qualified for Worlds, are actually going to be playing for.
Buckle yourself in, guys, because if this is our farewell to Quest Rogue, And I know this is going to sound kind of hipster. It's like that thing where like a celebrity dies and you open up Twitter and suddenly everyone you know is that guy's biggest fan. But now Quest Rogue is disappearing. There are a couple of players that actually bring out the beauty and the symphony of this deck. One of them is Ostkaka, the second is Hoej. One of those is a previous world champion. Does Hoej have future world champion in his resume?
I think he's got it in him, at least, to get that far. Hoej's play has actually just been pretty exemplary in this tournament. It's he's one of the players
with this deck in particular.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, in general, even some of his other decks, he was just making something I've always liked about Hoej, even from all the way in Gfinity, is he just makes the right reads. He knows when to turn on the gas and then when to pull back. The timings are insane, and there's very few players I think do it better, actually.
I've never seen a man with enough this much patience in Hearthstone as Hoej does, which is a fantastic skill to apply to this deck. I've also, as you said, never quite heard someone or seen someone who understands exactly where the momentum shifts are in games as well as Hoej does. He understands exactly the pacing, the timing, the cadence of any given game of Hearthstone and understands the speed that he has to respond to it with. And honestly, if I was to want to check off 2 skills that you need to be a good Quest Rogue player, those 2 would be high on the list. So it's no surprise to me to see Hoej gelling so naturally with this deck.
Yeah, we'll see if he can pull it out the bag. As this hand now, Hoej almost has to make a decision now how he wants to complete the quest, because often there is a Firefly opening instead of quest with this kind of hand.
He's going Swashbuckler plus patches instead. It surprised me. There was a previous game from Hoej against Shaman where he really quite deliberately turned down the opportunity to quest on his Swashbuckler, which is usually something I like to do in the Shaman matchup.
You like random cards?
Oh, I love them. I love all these 1-mana random dude in your hand cards. They're perfect. Can we please have more of them?
You actually do.
Is that what you wanted to hear?
Yeah. It's actually true.
I actually do like Swashbuckler.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
I was going to say, you love Miracle Road because you hallucinate.
Yeah, hallucinate is amazing.
Shaku.
Yeah.
Never ends.
The point being, if I can get a word.
So anyway.
The point is that Shaman cards are actually really, really strong against Shaman, right? If you start checking off the list, Maelstrom Portal, Lightning Storm, Jade Claws, Jade Lightning, Volcano, all of these potential abilities to clear another Shaman board that just, getting 3 or 4 chances at a Swashbuckler quite often will give you some very useful resources in hand. But I've seen Hoej on at least 1 occasion, I think possibly 2, make a very defined decision not to quest on his Swashbuckler.
Yeah, the whole what classes, what Swashbuckler cards are good against which classes. As you said, Shane, it's kind of like the Chuck Norris effect, right? The only thing that can hurt Chuck Norris is Chuck Norris.
Yes.
And it's I'm sure we'll get all the different quotes now in the Twitch chat, which I could read.
R.I.P. Twitch chat.
Yeah, I'm not even sorry. They're great. But yeah, it's any AOE is just fantastic for a start. Igneous Elemental with Firefly already being played.
The Devolve is in hand for Ant, though. That's one of the big things that RDU was missing in this matchup from the other side. When the double Igneous Elemental came down, it's pretty much the best response you can have to an Igneous Elemental.
So many options.
We've talked a lot about the Quest Rogue nerf that's coming in the next few days, actually, for anyone who doesn't know. And I feel like unless the deck changes dramatically, because I still think it'll be played, unless it changes dramatically, we'll see like heavier and heavier mulligans and aiming towards Igneous Elemental as a proccing factor, because the additional minion means that it's kind of like 1 less bounce effect required, and you kind of need 1 more bounce effect to make it happen, right?
Do you remember the face when I explained to you what the face meant? So I just made the face.
I forgot.
The face that says, the pedant in me wants to explain why you're wrong, but I understand what you meant. So
I never said there'll be a
turn
turn early. I said it requires 1 less bounce.
Kind of, yes.
1 less bounce if you're doing a singular normal minion.
Trying to be good. I'm trying not to bicker with you, Raven.
Okay. So anyway, back to this game and pre-nerf Quest Rogue.
Igneous Elemental did seem fairly clearly the play. There is that fear of Devolve, of course, that Hoej would have run into, but Unbound Elemental didn't really seem to be getting him anywhere at this point, and it wasn't really time to start bouncing either, I don't think. So Hoej ended up with a fairly straightforward Igneous Elemental, but well within his rights to take the full time available there to find himself a solution.
Yeah.
I wonder.
If only there was a Maelstrom and a coin. A Devolve would be great.
And an Innovate.
And a Fledgling.
And a Vicious Fledgling.
And then a coin and another Fledgling.
And then a Mark of Yasharaj.
Yeah. Oof.
That's me, all right.
Rob will now love you forever. Frostwolf Grunt. Not going to get too much work done here. This is actually a really awkward turn. And this seems like the most straightforward play. You know, nothing too flashy, right?
Because honestly, I think like one of the big things that people do wrong in the Shaman versus Rogue matchup from the Shaman side is that they don't value their special totems enough. Stonehill Defender actually becomes quite a powerful card in the matchup because it defends your special totem so well. But Manatide in particular actually becomes a very aggressive card because it pulls you more consistently towards your Jade Lightnings, your Bloodlust, your Flame Tongue totems. And probably looks at this hand and says, all right, I have Bloodlust and Flame Tongue already. If I can just cycle 1 or 2 cards here with this Manatide and just pick up a couple of minions, then I'm pretty much set to go. But it's not a good feeling whatsoever to just be dropping a Manatide to die in this matchup because it is a very, very key card.
Benefit is the Igneous Elemental also isn't going to die. True. Turn. True. So that is, you know, one upside of maybe being a little bit slower. Now the Primal Thing's there. And can maybe make something happen. This thing from below isn't exactly cheap, though, at the moment. It is still 5 mana, only hitting 1 reduction. But if the Primal Fin and the Hero Power comes down next turn, they'll only make it 3.
Hoej now very exposed to Devolve based on his quest progress.
Do you think he took the read that Devolve wasn't there because Ant didn't do it?
I think if he did, it's a bad read. He may have done. His actions possibly even suggest that.
Edwin Van Leaf and the 3 Wisps. Sounds like a great band name.
Sorry, the position, it looks like Edwin Van Leaf is just looking over to the right saying, hello, fellow 1-1s.
This, oh my god, this is literally Pac-Man. Well, there's like 3 ghosts. It's 3 ghosts, and Pac-Man's about to get him. He's supercharged. He's actually... Wagga, 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 wagga.
All right, that actually got me. I'm done.
Okay, so he's solo casting for the rest of this series. Hoej, please win. But yeah. And that was a good Devolve. But Ant has can follow up with some totems if he wants to. He's just going to go for the Hero Power. Primal Fin obviously just gets cleaned up completely, the Murloc and the totem. So just the Hero Power again, keeping it a little bit slow, reducing this thing from below down.
There was just so much exposure to Devolve on that turn. I hate to go back to it, but...
I thought you were going to be like, yeah, wait, it's like Pac-Man.
Yeah, Pac-Man. Yeah, Hoej just really left himself open to it, and the punish was there from Ant. Like I said, maybe he interpreted the play on the previous turn as a sign of no Devolve, but I think that would have been a bad read if that was his thinking.
No, Hoej saw the lines. He knew he was going to draw Vanish, and suddenly Wisps vanish if they survive. Get this quest done awfully quickly. He knew all along. He's a genius.
Maybe
he can't kill them.
He can't kill them. This is amazing. This is my favorite game of Hearthstone ever.
Oh my. Hoej's like, and you thought Devolve was good here. You fool!
I get my board devolved into Wisps. I top deck Vanish. Everything's great.
I'm going to complete my quest. Then I'm going to get him with 5 points.
That's me, all right.
Oh, it's just going to happen, isn't it?
This is actually just beautiful. This is kiss your own fingertips beautiful. Mwah.
There we go. And Hoej just doesn't do it. And we're like, no! Please!
I'm a big fan of 3 Wisps in my hand right now if I'm Hoej.
I just even replay the Wisp. So dominant, you know you can't kill him.
Well, next turn, you can just do it, right, with the second Vanish? Like, you can just do it all, if you wanted to?
I guess. It's not fun, though, is it? I prefer the Wisp just like sitting there going, oh, couldn't kill me last time. Almost went into a half Stewie voice then, that was weird.
You couldn't kill me last time?
Oh my god, we actually put it in.
You're having a little bit of trouble getting my Wisps? Sticking to the board?
He's going to do the Vanish and actually They're off the board as well, so it's not as if he even hands Ant back value for the following turn. Yes, he's not going to play them all, but still. I like playing 2.
So yeah, worst case scenario, this is actually 0 risk when you think about it, because worst case scenario, he can now Wisp, Vanish, Wisp next turn, even if the Maelstrom Portal's top deck.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It just happens. So I do like getting them because now it gives these charge.
Yeah, you're actually right.
Well, not charge, but you know what I mean. You can use them.
This is just no downside. Yeah, you're correct. It
So
also means he can go Wisp, Gadgetzan Ferryman, Wisp.
full flexibility, yeah. And now the Wisps have charge.
Yeah, it just gives the most options. And you also know that Maelstrom Portal isn't there, so you should definitely tilt your percentages towards what happens when he can't kill the 1/1s, because he's shown you how difficult it is for him to kill the 1/1s.
Balancing trade-off, right? Like, you know, if he doesn't have it, get him. You know, 2 5/5s that can attack this turn is pretty great.
If he does have it, I still finish my quest next turn.
And also, this is a rare opportunity where, like, the quest can be played for 5 and you get to attack with 5/5s. That often does not happen as Quest Rogue. And it's just like, damn you, Wisps.
You know what? I called this at the start, feel good Hearthstone. It is. Both of these guys coming into this will have felt great. That feeling might just be slowly evaporating from Ant at this point, because he would have loved to go on to call himself the champion, but I'm sure when he reflects on all of this at the end of the day, at the end of the week, when he gets home, when he hugs his mother, when all of these wonderful things have happened, he'll understand that he has achieved some great things over the course of this week.
Just going to play the Maelstrom anyway. Going to go for that sweet evolve. Probably. Why not? He's got 2. Might get some taunts. 4-drop could get a Tazdingo. Okay, well, it's not over yet. Although main pod into a charge minion pretty much finishes this game. Novice Engineer into a charge minion pretty much finishes this game.
I hope you like my invention.
Second Novice Engineer into a charge minion. He's not going to do it.
I think it's a good point to bail. As much as the repetition was pleasing me, bailing out and just generating a huge board at this point, because
just sets it up, right?
This is the classic problem against even mid-range shamans or controlling shamans. It's just how do they interact with a quest rogue board, right? Like even if you have volcanoes in your deck, it just doesn't really get the job done. Devolve does nothing. Like they have no way to answer this board state.
And I really like this as well, because it's just like, it doesn't look like crazy, but just the Glacial Shard on the Acolyte is like, no. I am really favored. I am probably going to win, but I'm not giving you any draws.
Oh, yeah,
you get what you get.
Yeah, kill that 5/5. Just don't draw any particular combination of 6 cards that work together to beat me in this position. Hoej giving Quest Rogue the send-off it deserves.
It's actually been incredibly impressive. Hoej's play as Quest Rogue. I am going to ask him about that Wisp. Did you leave them just because? That'd be nuts. And whether he did or not, I want him to say he did. I just want him to just take credit, and I'd be like, oh, you're a god.
Gonna try the evolve again. It doesn't happen for him, and gives it up. Hoej goes out to a 3-0 record, continuing his mastery of the Quest Rogue deck. Hoej will march on his quest to follow up his World Championship qualification with a seasonal championship title, but let's take nothing away from Ant. I think we've all fallen in love just a little bit with this lovable gentleman, and he has done a fantastic week's work by booking himself a spot at the World Championship.
There's the big hug there. Just he's such a friendly guy, and Hoej is exactly the same as well. I'm very happy to see Hoej do well. He had a quite long dry spell, unfortunately for him, in the previous year. But he is stomping through this year. It's looking great, and that's what he's looking to win, the championship trophy, and he's going to be in the finals. One more match, and we could be crowning Hoej as the Hearthstone Championship Tour Spring Champion. But he's going to be facing Kolento or Nyria. No pushovers there.
Yep, it's going to be facing the might of Ukraine, but Hoej is ready and waiting on stage, so let's not keep him waiting too long. Ali is standing by to ask him some questions.
All right, everyone, let's give it up to Hoej！ 再次恭喜Hoej赢得半决赛的胜利，即将进入我们的总决赛，这也是他到目前为止在世界各项大赛当中的最好成绩。那他现在感觉如何呢 ？So Hoej, congratulations! Now this is the moment, man. You're going to the finals. I think this is by far the best performance you ever give. How are you feeling now?
I'm feeling amazing. It's like, yeah, definitely like the biggest tournament I've ever played in.
啊，他现在感觉真的特别的棒啊，确实是他打过的最大的一场比赛啊。现场的话，我可以在这看特别清楚，脸特别红啊，喘着气儿，好可爱的样子。那我想问一下 ，Did you expect this？ 你有没有预期到自己是3-0赢得这么轻松 ？Did you expect 3-0？ I mean, this is well, it's not that tough, right? But did you expect 3-0 before the game?
I think N was favored, like going in because he has the 4 aggressive lineups, so he should be favored on the paper. But like I got the Rogue versus Shaman, which is like close to a 50-50. But yeah, I'm really happy I made it through.
Right. 那么他其实并没有一开始预计到自己会打得这么好，他觉得这个 Ant 他的卡组他的4套牌都是比较属于快攻型的哈，攻击性比较强。但是呢，他自己在打他的任务贼用的特别的好啊，在这方面的话他表现的相当棒。所以说呢，后来自己能够获得比赛的胜利，也算是一个比较幸运的事情。All right. So, how do you explain Europe's success in this event? I mean, it's like you guys are really good.
I don't know, like Europe just work hard and they're all really good players. I don't know the exact reason, but.
All right. 我刚才问他，他觉得欧洲选手表现的这么棒，究竟的原因是什么呢？他说，其实也就是努力啦，用功啦，没有什么，我们真没有什么哈，欧洲人的嘴脸。那好，好，okay. So last question. Now one more game and you're going to win it. And then your opponent will be Naria or Clento. So how are you feeling now? Yeah, what would it mean for you to win?
I played against Colento in the Europe playoff final, so it would be nice to have another rematch against him. But Colento and Naria are really good players, so no matter what, it's going to be like a sick final.
那我问他最后的决赛你感觉如何？面对 Naria 和 Clento 有什么想法啊？他说他之前跟 Clento 打过一场，他希望能够再打一场。之前显然是没有赢，希望在决赛中碰到他。但是呢，他也很公允的说啊，就是 Naria 和 Clento 都非常的强，不管遇到谁都会是一场非常严峻的挑战。那我们就祝 Hoej 好运吧啊！再次感谢 ，Thank you very much, Hoej. All the best to you.
Hoej there just, saying we're going to get a great final. And you know what, Hoej? I agree. It's going to be awesome. Going to be Hoej versus the winner of Colento or Naria.